G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Welcome to Gallery Aquatica TV. Well, it's been over a year since I was standing here talking to you about my display tank. And today we're going to go into detail about what has changed in the last 12 months. We've got some exciting new fish, some really cool corals, and I can't wait to show you my display tank at Gallery Aquatica Wynnum. So this display tank at Gallery Aquatica Wynnum has just recently celebrated its 10th birthday. So the whole store is actually 10 years old now, and the display tank was one of the first tanks that we set up. Now in that time, many things in this tank have changed, and I would say pretty much all of the fish have changed since the very first lot of fish that we put in. Probably the longest serving fish we have in this tank is the Chromis. He's probably at least 7 or 8 years. He's been in here for ages, but most of the other fish are relatively new, and I just want to run you through the stories behind a few of the fish, because pretty much all of the fish in this tank do have a story as to where they've come from. So first of all, we have a rabbit fish. Now this rabbit fish, it's a blue spot rabbit fish, and it came from one of our best customers that shut his tank down a couple of years ago. And so it's really nice for us to be able to put him in this tank, this beautiful rabbit fish. He's really good at keeping the algae down, and it's nice to have a reminder of that customer. We also have a couple of goниes and some clownfish, which have come from another customer who's overseas. He's going to actually come back in a year or so, and we're going to give him his corals back. He's going to set up a little nano with it. We also, of course, have got our Queen Angel. Now, we have spoken about the Queen Angel in previous episodes of Gallery Aquatica TV. He's an absolutely beautiful fish. You can see the streamers, the top and bottom, the blues coming out beautifully. And I do, of course, love my angelfish. You'll recall the Emperor angelfish we had in previous. It was a beautiful angel, but this Queen is certainly a very special fish to me. He also came from the customer who's gone overseas, but the Queen Angel is going to live in this tank long term. He's part of the family here at Gallery Aquatica. We also have a Forsythia, a long-nosed butterfly. Now that came from a customer who had to shut his tank down. He was really sad to have to do it, but we took his long-nosed butterfly, and it's done amazing in this tank. And they're not a fish that we use in a lot of reef tanks, so I was happy to be able to have him in here, and he's doing beautifully. And we have the fish which are probably most special to me. Midway through last year, one of my best friends passed away, and he had a fish tank with this beautiful yellow tang and the sailfin tang, and it was a sad story, but we have his fish here now, and so it's a really it's a beautiful reminder to me of him, and this yellow tang will, hopefully be around for a long time, and we'll be able to look in here and think of my friend. But the fish in this tank are doing really nice. It's a relatively low bioload of fish, and I do typically keep the fish group in a display tank of mine on the smaller side, so that I can just find it easier with nutrients, and I don't need to have a lot of fish in a tank, just very specific key fish. And certainly the fish in this tank are doing absolutely beautifully, and each of them does have a story behind them. So now let's talk about the coral in this display tank. I'm standing at what I would call the front of this peninsula tank, and I want to show you this side first because I think it really displays some of my philosophies about reefing and how I typically look after corals and my methods for curating a tank like this. And effectively what I like to do is I like to put in frags and small colonies of corals and let them grow. It's very rare that I remove whole colonies or even prune them back. I almost like to let the corals sort of decide how they're going to grow, where they're going to grow, and almost an effect of fighting it out for space. And you can see with the Monties that we have in this area here that we've started off with 3 different colonies, and they are growing into each other, and they're really sort of fighting for space. We then have the Acroporas on this edge here, and I've got an overflow. This whole structure of the display tank is almost as if it's on legs, propped up so that the corals have got lots of surface area to grow on, and the fish have got lots of caves underneath. And so from this end, you can see the big under section of the structure. You can see the Monties battling out for space. And then above that, we have the Acropora. We've got a big Pacillopora. And again, I've really just let them all grow into the positions. We are, of course, very strategic with where we do place the corals. But once we do that, we really just sort of let them grow into position. Now, this Pacillopora colony is also something of note. It's a huge colony, and it's got a few sections where the branching coralline has actually started to grow. Now, whilst this may be a little bit of a problem in that the branching coralline may overtake the colony, I do like the effect of the purple against the green, and it's looking pretty cool. But we'll go around the side now. We have one of the most special corals in all of Galleria Aquatica on this side of the display tank. So let's check it out. So this is it. It is a naturally occurring chimera torch. And so by that, what I mean is it actually has got 2 different sections of color to this colony. Now, with a torch, they grow with multiple heads, and in this case, we have some heads which are green with a yellow tip. We also have gold stem on the other section, and interestingly, there is actually a couple of heads which have got half green and half gold. So it's a very special piece. It's very rare that we see torch corals like this, and so we had originally purchased it with the idea of fragging it up, but we're going to keep it in our display tank. We're going to let it grow big, and it's really one of the most special corals we've got. Now, Anya will probably talk more about this in a future episode of Galleria Aquatica TV. She's much more into her weird and unusual corals, so she's got a long story that she will talk about with this one in the future. But I want to talk about a couple of other corals on this section here, because there are some things that I really love, and one of the special things for me is we have a blue gig. Now, it's only a small blue gig. It's just sort of tucked away in here behind the acros, but it's something that I've never actually kept in one of my tanks previously. And I love the fact that it started out small. It was only about the size of a 50-cent coin when we put it in here, and it's at least tripled in size. So it's going really well. Its color's developing, and I really love it. Now, on this side of the tank, we have a few other things that have really sort of started to take over a little bit. We've got some green star mat up here, which I like the way it's really covering the rock. Some people freak out a little bit because it's almost starting to cover up some of the SPS, but that is the way of the corals on this side. We have a massive amount of daisy polyps. Again, a lot of people would freak out at the fact that there's so much in here, and potentially it's going to overtake things, but I really like it. And we do have this big photosynthetic gorgonian, and it's a massive colony. We take frags off it all the time, but it's it's an amazing piece, and I really love it. Again, it came from one of our good customers in a tank shut down, and I'm really happy to have it here. Also, it came with these bright red morphs, and they've always been there. Every now and then one floats off and lands somewhere else, but they're really, really bright and really cool, and I do love this piece. We'll go around the other side because we have a couple of new corals over there that I really want to show you. The main coral I want to talk about on this side is this awesome chalice that really was just an absolute fluke of a piece that we put it in there, and it was actually for sale for a while, but we just dropped it in place and it fit beautifully and it's done really well. But the reason why I like it is because it adds another level to the tank, and I always like corals that play it out, create levels. That you can see it with the Montipora at the front really well, but it has a unique color and pattern, and I really love that chalice. It's a great piece. Something else of note with this tank, and anyone that's followed the updates on our display tank here at Wynnum may have noticed this, but the rock structure is designed so that we have a piece that comes out from this side, as well as the main structure over here. And over the years, they've become closer and closer together. And that's because we've had a number of corals that have encrusted on the rock on this section here, making it grow. Effectively, the rock is growing towards the main structure. And we're almost at a point where there is no gap. This green Monty here is almost touching the red Monty on this other side. And as someone who's been watching this tank for the last 10 years, it's quite exciting to me the way that this tank is developing. It is, of course, as any reef tank, a dynamic ecosystem. Over the years, we've had a variety of corals that have thrived, died, other things have grown on top of them. And going back to my point at the start about my philosophy and the way that I reef, I really let the reef create its own intricate patterns and structures, and this is a very good example of that. One more thing, on this side of the tank, we have a redline cleaner shrimp, and it just lives tucked under this little ledge here. Another creature that I really like. It's not a particularly obvious thing in the tank. You really have to look closely to see it, but that's what I love about it. I love a tank where the more you look at it, the more you'll see. And this little redline cleaner shrimp tucked under the ledge is a perfect example of that. As I mentioned, our display tank here at Galleria Aquatica Wynnum recently turned 10 years old. And so it's really interesting to see the different growths that you get in a reef tank that has been left in place for so long. Now, it'll be interesting to see what this tank looks like if it's still here in another 10 years. I can almost guarantee it will be completely different with different corals and different formations. And it's interesting to see how tanks do develop over time. But that's it for today's episode of Galleria Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing.